Hey guys, what's up? What up, guys? Welcome back to the Teddy Nation. And yo, what up, guys? Welcome back to the Teddy Nation. Bro, that was huge. Big sleep on him. Holy shit.
What's going on YouTube? It's AKingsCreation. What's going on YouTube? It's AKingsCreation again, bringing you guys an exciting video this time. Stun me. That's all good. Go ahead, run away. Go ahead, run away. Can't touch the staff. Get off of me, man.
What is going on, fam? Yo, what is good, you guys? Welcome to the video.
Are you ready? Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to AFK at the Throne. My name is Tedamore, and with me today I have AKingsCreation on my left-hand side.
Yo.
And Ash on my right-hand side over here.
What's popping?
We wanted to start a podcast to kind of build a community around Throne. All three of us play Throne and Liberty probably way more than we should, guys. I think we can all agree to that.
No such thing.
But with the new expansion Talandre coming out, we have to reminisce on the phase 1 for global. And phase 1 had a lot of good memories for a lot of us. We all started in different paths, and we all kind of came together towards the end of it, and we're looking to go into Talandre together as a merc. Let's start with AK. AK, what was your favorite thing about phase 1 for Throne and Liberty?
So I kind of took a different route than most people when it came to starting Throne of Liberty. So my first 2 months was playing solo. I wanted to see if it was possible to play this game solo. And I got up to about 3,000 CP or so. And I started to realize that you definitely need, in order to play the entirety of Throne of Liberty, you needed a guild. So my experience was fun though. In the beginning was just playing through the storyline and just understanding Throne of Liberty's mechanics and just the overall landscape of the game. I was amazed by it, especially with it being like a new MMO coming out in 2024 in around October. So I didn't get a chance to play the early access, so I did come in I think maybe like a week or two after the game fully released. And I was just basically trying to play catch up, and I actually did end up catching up. And I started creating videos and guides on how to, catch up and how to play the game as a solo player, and if it was possible, like I said, to play the game as a solo player. And I started to enjoy the game more playing in a guild, and actually my first guild is Merc. So
Oh, that's dope. That's
it was,
dope.
yeah, so it was a it's a fun experience, just creating friendships and learning the game from a veteran for KR, and just taking his advice and using that and
I'll,
just creating atmosphere. So
I'll say you definitely took a 180 there, playing solo, and then right before server merges, you were like ranked 3rd on the kill rank. So you
yeah.
definitely took it up a notch. Like you went from like 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Ash, tell me, what is your favorite thing about Phase One for global, man? Being a Korean veteran, playing Throne and Liberty since its official launch before US even had an access. What is your favorite thing about Phase One?
So because I had already experienced most of the content before, my favorite part is obviously it's not the content, it's the community and the players. It's seeing the diversity in the way people think in America versus Korea, seeing the progression, like actually being there from the start and seeing the way politics change people, just being able to predict human behavior, just watching the community and how it changes, man. Like Throne has been a legit experiment, a human experience for me, just learning how people think, how they operate, predicting what they're gonna do, how they're gonna change, and seeing those predictions come true is it was just fun from an actual people standpoint. And as far as the game, I'll say the meta shift is my number one favorite thing about NA because absolutely nothing translates from Korea over to global because every American wants to play DPS monkey. They
Yeah,
absolutely
they
do
do.
not care about their team.
Yeah.
So seeing that huge change, not only has it allowed me to frag a lot more than I would have in KR, but it's changed the way that I had to play the game previously, and it's a little interesting, a little bit more interesting, I would say.
I mean, just coming from like Korean, like the Korean servers, I bet you had like an edge. Like you knew how to gear up like day one a lot faster than most of us like day one starters for global, right? Like I was early access on global, but I feel like I didn't really figure out what I was wanting to do with it until like the first Arch boss came out, which was like a month after the game launched. So I can imagine that first month you were probably farming me left and right and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, but like I was rank one for the longest, but that quickly got boring. And what ended up happening was I shifted from using my knowledge for personal gain and kind of more so shifted towards helping the community, started making more informational content and also starting a community full of new players because it's very easy to dominate in a sweaty guild full of people that know what's going on. But what's hard to do is to take new players, beginner players from 0 to 100 and really get them geared up to compete with better players. And I would say, like from the start of Mercs, from a 12 starting apostles, from where we are now, like we have legit grown into a community that is competitive and can dominate majority of this community. So just really taking that knowledge and growing with some new players and some, you know, some senior players with majority new players, like that's the better experience that I've gotten, honestly.
Yeah. I'll tell you my perspective, like my favorite thing from Throne and Liberty so far in phase one, and like coming in playing some of these other Korean based MMOs, playing like World of Warcraft and stuff. Um, I feel like just like the content lockout where like, you know, arch bosses, arch boss weapons, things like that, they are so scarce, and like actually receiving one of those items or just getting that piece of gear and getting it fully traded out makes so much of a difference, and it can like boost your spirit and like kind of give you that boost you need to make your build like fully complete. And when I got my Tevent wand to make me like go full Dark Blighter, it was the first arch boss. I did not know what I was expecting. I was the only wand dagger in the guild that I was in, and we got one. And I convinced him to give it to me. And I'll tell you, from that day, I have not looked back. And I've like honed in on my skills with Dark Blighter, and I would arguably say I'm one of the best out there. But when it comes to like just seeing that item, something that is worth thousands of US dollars if you want to pay for it, just like in your grasp, it just kind of like that's like my favorite thing about Throne and Liberty, that there is access to it. You just got to be in that right community.
Yeah, it's definitely a good feeling. I will agree.
I tell
Now,
especially
you,
after getting my
trying to
own
get an
art
arc
boss.
boss weapon by yourself solo is impossible.
it
That's
is.
the
I mean,
main
hey,
reason.
it's rare, but it can
Unless you
happen.
swipe.
Now,
Yeah, you gotta
from
swipe for it.
now
Yeah.
on global, since we're on global right now, since early access to now, what is your favorite moment you've experienced in this game for global? Let's start with you, AK.
So my favorite thing that I experienced,
Favorite moment, like if you had like a kill feed of like 30, 40 kills, if you like just joining mercs and like changing it, whatever's your favorite moment, man.
definitely getting rank 3 was definitely my favorite moment. Especially as a console player, because a lot of people be talking mess about the console players not being able to keep up with the PC players. But that was definitely one of, I would say, one of my favorites and my top favorite. And then in line with that is winning or defending the castle during that siege that we had recently, the last siege on Grenwell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was actually a good milestone for me as well.
Bro, it was super intense coming down to the last minute. We had to hold it, went into overtime. We somehow clutched up and kept the guild leader alive. That's dope.
Yeah.
What about you, Ash? What's your favorite moment so far in global?
Um, Honestly, my favorite moment in global is probably like the first 2 weeks, man. It was playing Bomb Squad. Like, don't get me wrong,
Ooh.
I really enjoy my time that I'm doing now. I'm like streaming and playing, but honestly, when I was a little bit fresher to the game, a little bit more unknown, not targeted as much, not being focused targeted every time I appeared, and not being stream sniped every few seconds, just fragging on a crossbow, dropping barrage on enemy backlines, like that was the moment for me, man. I was just able to play and actually be a gamer, and there's nothing that replaces that.
Bro, I'll tell you, watch it, like putting that intro clip together of like all of our highlights, like my highlight of like the big sleep bomb, AK just like freaking basically 1v3ing in an arena. And then like your clip, when I got to your clip and I was looking for it was the first clip I found, and it was a crossbow bomb, and you got like 15 kills on it. You put my clip to shame over here. Like so I might have to test out that crossbow build coming soon, just to see if it's still viable in phase 2. Um,
Hey, crossbow wand's a thing too, man.
you know, I'll tell
Coming
you,
back.
I think the best moment that I've had, and I think almost anybody that's experienced the same moment as me is going to say the exact same thing, but it is getting that archboss weapon, man. That that
100%.
archboss weapon, um, that's something that we just like. That experience is just impossible to replicate.
Yeah. I think he
100%.
crashed. Did he crash?
Yeah, it looks like we're having technical difficulties with
Um,
with Ash's camera over here. Oh, there we go.
should
There
be
we
back,
go. He's back.
I think.
All right. Then on that note, let's go into the next one. Let's talk about our builds. I think everybody that's watching the podcast live right now, they know my build for a fact. They know that I'm the Dark Blighter. I built my channel around getting those massive sleep bombs. I may not get 100 kills, but I'm going to get 300 assists. I'll tell you that right now, because everybody's going to be slept. What about you, AK? What build are you currently running right now?
Currently running a spear dagger right now. I'm still looking to carry that into Talandre, but I may end up trying to work on a bow as well. I want to experience other weapons to see if I'm can qualify as being good for those weapons as well. But right now, the main 3 weapons I'm going to take into the next expansion is daggers, spear, and staff.
So on your spear dagger, are you running poison spear dagger, or are you running lightning bomb, like the
Uh,
lightning
right now
infusion?
I'm Right now, I'm running a mixture of poison, and also lightning bombing. So I actually have 2 versions of it because I like to be able to win 1v1 situations if I have to. But in like large scale or like GVG situations, then I will run the lightning infusion with the Umbral Spirit for the bombing part.
Okay, okay. What
Yeah.
about you, Ash?
I have been playing the same build since day one, man. It has been staff dagger through and through, man. Like, I love crossbow, don't get me wrong. It's really fun to frag out, but it's something about being long range, having the ability to control a battlefield, freeze enemies, teleport around while playing stealth. It literally just fits my play style. It fits my real life personality. Like, I literally live, breathe staff dagger. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. Man, yeah, that is kind of rare too, considering like how many melees like builds there are in NA specifically. Like there's a ton of people that are going like great sword and spear right now. So definitely like stick out that range class, man. Are you going to
100%.
be running the same build going into Talandre?
Yeah, moving into Talandre, I absolutely have to support the staff dagger community. Um, so that is what I'm gonna start with, and then after I get my second gear set, which is gonna be more of an overall triple endurance bruiser set, I'm gonna be a bit more viable playing bow as kind of like a bow staff tank,
Oh, like a
like
liberator?
a healer. Liberator, but a little bit different than what everyone else plays. Most people play Liberator for range damage. I'm gonna be playing Liberator as kind of like a self healer that has
Okay.
some range magic damage. It's gonna be a little different. A lot of sustain, a lot of support, a little bit more of a control class. So yeah, be looking out for that build.
All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Like if you want to check out anyone's channel, you know what we play, you know what we master. Definitely check us out. Let's get into one of the most pressing matters that we've seen across all of our channels, all the comments, everything is the health of the game, right? We saw an uptick like right when global launched to like some insane numbers for an MMO. I believe it was like 350,000 active players at one point. Um, Now we're down and we're hovering around 20 to 30,000 active players every single day. Um, what do y'all think is like one of the leading factors in that? Let's start with you, Ash, this time.
So the American population is a bit unstable in terms of what they do with their games and how long they stay on those games. So I think the number one deciding factor for Americans is what streamer is playing that game and how much they like that streamer. The more clout a streamer has, the more people are going to play that game. Throne of
Right.
Liberty is really intelligent with how they marketed their game because they have Gritton, they had Shroud, um, they had Cannon, but we lost Shroud, so we lost a huge portion of the player base. We still have Cannon, still have Gritton, we still have Whelps, um, mostly sponsored by Amazon. So it's like that's a huge portion of it. The second portion of it is legit. Um, it's the state of the game, right? Like at the beginning, it was very detrimental for some of these smaller guilds, smaller communities to really understand what's happening. And with the prices of the gear, it was just a little unobtainable for most people. But now we're getting to the point where I want to say that things are more obtainable. So the player base is stabilized. It's not really shrinking, but there are other games that are coming out, so it's still got a lot of competition. I think
Right.
those are just the most impactful factors on the player base, to be honest.
Right. Like I agree. Whenever you have those big streamers come play, you're gonna have an influx of like people that just follow them. I think one of the big factors too is the competition. Like in NA, like World of Warcraft is kind of king when it comes to MMO. Like the amount of people that still pay
Facts.
for that game are insane. I know I did for years, but
Yep.
they just launched like extra servers and everything right after this game launched, so you lost a lot of people to that. I know that like BDO had a pretty solid update this past like holiday season as well, so people went back and played that for a little bit. I think this game has so much potential, and I think we'll probably see consistent numbers as far as like what BDO is pulling, like 20, 30,000, like what it's consistently pulling right now. We'll probably see consistent numbers like this as long as Amazon and NCSoft continue to pump out content updates. And if they do like
Definitely.
expansions and time their expansions outside of other games dropping as well, then situations like I believe what Blade and Soul just dropped, and like Talandre's dropping like now. So like there's other competition happening right now. If they time it better, I guarantee you'll see more upticks with Throne of Liberty. You have anything else to add, AK?
Yeah, it's just yeah, and then that's the thing too. Like when they first came out, like when Throne of Liberty came out, a lot of people that were complaining was about more so about the toxicity of the PvP side, and that's something that literally the game cannot control. But more so, it felt like a job to them. So in a way, if they're bringing Talandre in, it's just got to work on a couple of things that doesn't feel like the game is a job to most people, especially on NA, because a lot of people are complaining about that. They just want to get into the game and not per se like have all the max gear or weapons right away, but just like for example, if you reach 4,500 tokens, for example, and you miss a day, it automatically goes away or deletes because you're already at the cap. So a lot of people are like, well, now this game is forcing me to play daily and making sure that I stay on the game daily to make sure nothing overcaps or I lose no resources. So
Right.
stuff like that. If they work on those little small little things, I feel like that would help boost the population a bit.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. I do like that you said like hopefully they do it or they come out with something like that in Talandre. That brings us to our next point. Um, let's talk about like our predictions. What do we think is going to happen with Talandre? Do you think we're going to see like a huge uptick of like player base coming back to the game? At least for Talandre. We'll start with you, AK.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe the first at least week or two, just as like a lot of people are going to come back to test it out, see if they really enjoy the new combat system, like it being faster and better targeting, and just to fill out the new content. A lot of people took a break from global before Talandre because they got all their gear done. They don't feel like PvPing. Most of them are just PvEers, so they have nothing else to do. So this is going to give them something to do, more content. So I can see a lot of people trying it out for the first couple of weeks to see if they're going to be willing to stay and play.
What about you, Ash?
I'm predicting that we should hit somewhere between uh 60 to like 75,000 concurrent players. Um, but
So like
with the
tripling
American population, yeah, I think we
almost.
should see a good triple, definitely double, if not triple the numbers that we currently see. But whether those players will stick around is probably unlikely. This is how the American population is. We're definitely going to see a huge spike, and then we're going to see it kind of bounce out. We won't really see true numbers until probably like into the first month or so.
I think man, I have to agree with both of y'all. We're gonna see an uptick. I think seeing around like triple numbers is probably gonna be a good estimate from what we currently see, and I think we might see more people stick around this time than we did the first time because of like how they are adding some new things to like increase like the catch up for some of these new players or people that haven't played. Like some of these blue items are now going to be stronger than some of our sets of gear that we currently have. I think the server consolidation kind of helped that as well. You're going to have these huge alliances that are still make it feel like a job all day, but you're going to have so many other alliances that don't make it feel like a job. Like I know our alliance, like we, especially since server merges, like, hey, Talandre's coming out. We like, if you want to play, help us out. We'll PvP. We'll do everything like every single time. But we're not. We don't care if you're on right now. Like when Talandre comes, be prepped for the first couple of weeks. Like we're gonna go in, go ham. But like this ain't your job, man. This is a game. We're all here for fun, and we love Throne. right? There's communities out there that are going to grab those people, those new players coming in to be able to compete with these top alliances. And this top alliance is going to realize that that hardcore mentality, when there's 6 or 7 other Zergs that aren't hardcore, but there's just enough numbers to beat them, it's not going to fly. So,
Not to mention the burnout that comes with that
bro,
mentality. They're
how
gonna
many,
start losing members after the first few weeks. They lose a couple fights, they drop like flies. It happens every time.
telling you, coming from like a big Zerg, like for the first siege, like I was in a big Zerg, that like yeah, the burnout was hard, man. I quit the game for a week because I was burnt out on it, and I talked myself back into it, and shout out to like Cindy as well. He's like my RL best friend, but he kind of like talked me back into it. He's like, "Man, you got the Tevin wand. I haven't got anything. Like, why are you quitting? This burnout's stupid. Just don't play it like a job anymore."
Yeah.
All right.
100%.
We've made our predictions. Let's tell everyone real quick about some of the new things that are coming with Talandre. We won't get into too much depth because here in the next 2 days, I'm sure that everybody that's watching it, or even if you're new, you can find it on any of our channels. We posted about it already. But some of the new things that are coming in Talandre, we're going to get solo dungeons. The solo dungeons, I've watched a lot of videos on these guys. Solo dungeons seem insanely difficult when you like get up to like certain levels of it, because I believe it increases like the more you do it, or like you have higher tier difficulties. Am I right, Ash?
That is definitely correct. So it's gonna be based off of combat power. I can't remember each combat power off the top of my head. I need to go back through and relook at them on KR version.
So the higher
But yeah,
combat power, the more difficult the dungeon is.
right, and the different the rewards. There's gonna be different reward thresholds per. So
That
it seems like they are made for all levels of the player base, not just the beginner.
that's huge. That would have came into play too for you, AK, when you started the game solo. If that was there, you might have still been
I'm diving
solo.
into it too. I'm
Right.
diving into it. Yeah.
We're getting some new 3-star dungeons. The 3-star dungeons, I hear like there might be times that where groups are going to be disbanding because of how hard these dungeons are compared to some of the 2-star dungeons. I've seen Americans play like these 2-star dungeons, and they just, man, freaking, what is it, chamber of torture and screams or whatever. Like I can't even get a group for that one now because people queue it and then they see it and they just leave because they don't even want to deal with the mechanics. So I'm excited to see how these 3-star dungeons work. I guarantee we're gonna have to go in with statics. Like we're gonna have to go in with set groups and kind of like forfeit the bonus reward potentially, because I don't think a lot of the US people are gonna be able to sit here and understand the concept of some of these dungeons.
It's gonna be similar to like when T2 Dungeons came out for global. Like the first couple of months, a lot of people are, especially if you're gonna do random matchmaking, a lot of people are not gonna know what to do. You're gonna get frustrated, and you're gonna end up either kicking people over and over again or leaving yourself because you can't do it. So if tier 3 dungeons are gonna be even challenging or more like difficult, you are basically required to have statics. And even if you have a static, you're going to more than likely fail a couple of times until you guys figure it out together. And I think with these 3-star dungeons, communication is definitely going to be a factor when it comes to passing these, not random groups. Maybe like I said, a couple months later or so, but even still, you have those chance of returning players or newer players coming in to the matchmaking system and still messing it up for you. So just be prepared to have a static group ready for these T3 dungeons.
I
Because that's going to be a requirement
I
to
think
complete
one
them.
of the only people in our entire guild that has done these is Ash, and
Mhm.
like we've been asking Ash like on a daily basis, like, "Hey, you play KR whenever US is down. How difficult is this? Or like, what is this like? Um, the strategy for this dungeon?" Like I've watched them, and like even though it's been out for months in KR, some of the KR people aren't even getting it done. So it's going to be exciting, man, and I think it's going to definitely not like take a notch up from like the PVE content that we had like from these T1 dungeons, you know, they're super easy. World boss is super easy. It's going to give us a little bit more difficult of a PvE aspect for those PvEers out there. The
I can't wait to see what happens when people get to the third and the fourth dungeon, and then the last dungeon, man, the
they
Twisted
just
Laboratory. Everyone that thinks that they're gonna get a Forgotten Assassin set and
oh
they gotta go
man,
through there to get their Master Assassin's belt, and they realize there's 9 mechanics and they
good
can't even
luck.
count to 7. Good luck, dude.
Good luck. Now let's talk about probably the biggest update in Talandre is the new weapon mastery, man. Like we're going from the 3-tiered weapon mastery to now like a kind of like a mastery tree for each weapon, and it goes from level 20 to level 200. Talk about get your grind on, man. Like we're gonna sit here and we're gonna play Throne of Liberty for probably hours on end just to even get level 50, if I had to assume. Or not level 50, because if we're level 20, it goes to level 60. Am I right?
Right. Exactly. So we're gonna be grinding from 60
To
all the way up to level
200.
200.
Man, that do you on Korea, Ash? Do you have a level 200 mastery weapon yet?
No, because the mastery came after I was mostly playing global, but I will say on average, like, so if we start at 60, we should be able to get to about 130 if you played consistently, did all your dungeons, and also farmed like nebula chests, right? And consistently did resistance contracts to replenish your abyss tokens. If you played consistently, let's say like 8 to 10 hours a day, I would say a week and a half to 2 weeks, we should be close to that 120, 130 weapon mastery level. But that's going to be for the top percentage. So
I,
it's a grind, but it's not that bad. But I would say after 130 is when you start getting a little bit of more diminishing returns. It's going to be a little bit more demanding. It might be a solid month and a half, 2 months before most of the player base is reaching close to like 150 to 200 levels.
yeah, and then keep in mind, right? There are like mastery bonuses once you hit certain thresholds on levels. So even weapons that you're not using, like if you're not rolling them, if once you have something leveled up, or you want to get some of those easier levels out of the way to like reach those bonuses, put on your other weapons and go into some of these lower dungeons, or even uh, maybe not some of the new open world dungeons because I hear they're difficult, but some of these older open world dungeons and level up these weapons, man. Like getting level 10 should realistically put you at like 30. And I know that some of those bonuses are massive whenever you get those like overall bonuses, because there's one that I believe, looking it up, like you can pop it. It's called Indomitable Stance, and it's you don't take you don't drop below 90% health for 5 seconds. Like you can go in as a bomber, pop that, and then just sit there for at least 5 seconds and do whatever you want and then get out. That is insane. So like make sure that you're leveling those weapon masteries up, guys.
Yeah, I'm definitely going towards the glass cannon side on the master tree.
Hey, hey,
More
hey.
damage, the better. Right? More hit chance, the better.
Now, something coming about a week later is probably what I've heard out of Ash's mouth the most in this entire past month. Nebula Island. And we're getting a PvP island that has how many zones, Ash?
There's going to be technically 4 PvP zones and 1 PvE zone. So 4 areas to contest and
So
the designated PvE zone for people that don't want the smoke.
so tell us a little bit about the island real quick. Is it like an open world dungeon where there's mobs and you kind of farm like chests, or
Well, there's 4 different terrains.
okay.
Um, so there is technically a dungeon that kind of reminds me slightly of Torture Chamber, but it is a little bit more different, but it does resemble Torture Chamber in a way in which you kind of go underneath and there's kind of these syndicate type mobs, these Arkham syndicate type mobs. Um, and in that area, there are elite bosses that spawn. There's chests that spawn. That seems to be one of the most difficult areas, probably the best to farm. And then you have the open world areas kind of around an island. You can fly, you can either fly from the starter, because you spawn in like a starter hub. You can fly down and go to these different terrains within the zone. It's all open world, but you can also take a teleporter to get you to that specific zone. And obviously, it's an island, so it's a circle. You could do a circle rotation, but each different zone has a different mob type, and it's open PvP 24/7 in all of these areas. However, there are detriments and bonuses to which time you go because there are certain bosses that spawn, and there's also chests that spawn at certain times throughout the map. And whoever controls the bosses, the conflict bosses, whoever controls the chests are going to get the best rewards for their time spent farming this area because technically it is limited time unless you spend a currency to replenish this time.
Yeah, let's talk about that limited time being up to 5 hours per week.
7 hours
I
unless
think,
they
yeah, I think it
change
might
it.
be 7. Um, but still, it's gated for a weekly time, and then it's an open world like dungeon that, but it's like an island, kind of like the Saradoma Island, constant PvP, and it's gonna drop the best accessories in the game. Man, this is gonna this is gonna change the game. I'm ready for something like this because get the whole alliance on one of those zones and lock it down just so that we can farm our accessories is gonna be fun. We have
Yeah, and
coming
100%.
the
coming
artifact
in
system.
to Talandre, the artifact system. You take it away, AK. I was just about to mention it. Do you know anything about the
Yeah,
new
I was just
artifact
saying because of
system?
the Nebula Island, the artifact system or the artifacts can be dropped in the Nebula Island as well.
I
I'm
think
excited for it.
I think
I'm
they could
excited
drop
for it.
everywhere, can they not?
Yeah, they can drop other places
But
as well.
probably the
Since we were on Nebula,
best.
I was talking about that. Yeah.
Probably the best ones come from Nebula, guys. Honestly, go ahead.
Mhm.
The-
Yeah, no, for me, for the artifacts, I'm like leaning towards. I've actually created a video already on this, and it's on my quest log. Probably working towards having artifacts that give me like the set bonuses of hit chance, and like I said, I'm kind of more leaning towards hit chance right away in the very beginning because I feel like that's the safest way to go.
Right.
When you don't really know what the meta is going to be in the beginning of Talandre. So based off of what they're saying is that you can get the artifacts through Nebula Island as well as the Abyss dungeons. And they come with like 4 talismans, a solar stone, and a lunar stone, which each have unique stats and set bonuses, like I was saying before. So just be on the lookout for that. But I don't know if they are going to be easily attainable if everybody in like the first week will have all their artifacts they need. It probably won't be like that. But also if you do get one, I would say try to create those bonuses sets as quick as possible.
It also looks like the artifact system does have like a rarity level as well.
Hmm.
So you can like get the different tiered artifacts for like higher stats and everything. But it's basically the artifact system is another system on top of like the rune system that is going to give you set bonuses that you can kind of synergize with your gear that push you over the edge. So it is something that you are going to want to farm.
Yeah.
Outside of that, guys, I think that is all the major things coming into Landre. Keep in mind that all of these things that we mentioned are not necessarily coming out tomorrow. The reset is tonight. So tomorrow, technically, if the game is up, Talandre will be out.
We shall see.
And so a lot of these are going to be gated behind like the milestones like they were at the launch of global. So don't expect every single thing at once. Just keep in mind that like once a week they are going to slowly release stuff. I believe we don't get Nebula Island for 1 week. We also don't get like the resonance system, which is just basically an enchant you can add on each piece of item that you have. to boost it. We don't get that for a couple of weeks. I believe
We
like
also are missing runes for a while.
right,
Purple runes.
the purple runes, you don't get them until like the 26th, I believe, or 25th of March. Like it's later in March, and then I believe later in March as well, or even like beginning of April is when we get our first glimpse of Cordy, right? The giant, like the best arch boss in the game that everybody talks about. So we
I
don't
need that necklace, man.
I think keep in mind we're gonna have a whole month of content that is consistently releasing. And depending on how this podcast goes, if y'all liked it, if you leave good comments on it, I may bring AK and Ash back. We may do some more of these podcasts throughout this milestone release and maybe even further, just depending on how y'all like this podcast. Remember, if you haven't already, go follow AK on YouTube. We're trying to convince him to get back on TikTok and Twitch. So tell him, go spam his comments down below and tell him that he needs to get on Twitch and stream with me and Ash. And then if you haven't already, go follow Ash on YouTube and Twitch as well. We need to get him on that TikTok game, guys. But you know, we're the Mercs, and we're going to continue to grow this community together. So anybody that wants to be a part of it, definitely hit that follow button, guys. Y'all have anything else to add?
Yeah, joke's on y'all. I'm actually going to stream tomorrow on the release of Talandre. Whenever it releases, we'll see if the maintenance is done. I'm probably going to stream that. So
On Twitch or YouTube?
I will be streaming on YouTube and Twitch.
Ooh.
So I was trying to get that subscription done, so I can do that. So
He's like my
and
son, you
also,
guys.
yeah, and also, don't forget about those life skills. I know those people out there who likes to fish and stuff like that. So I will be
Right.
coming out with some guides on that for everybody who likes to do those life skills. So be
Right.
prepared for that as well.
They did increase it a little bit, but I don't think that they are adding anything like game breaking right away. And we could
Yeah,
talk
adding
about
the
it.
elixirs to it. The elixirs.
Oh, there
The
are
new
some
elixirs.
extra elixirs.
There's extra elixirs. That's
Well,
coming out
once we
there.
get a little bit more information and we actually see it in person, or next podcast if we have one, we'll talk about that. I'll make sure of it. You have anything else to add, Ash?
I just want to put out a warning because the main reason I played KR is because I like to break things. And I tested something in KR. If you go from blue fully traded to purple fully traded, you get an upgrade. So now if you go from purple fully traded T1 to purple T2 untraded, you get a combat power buff, but you are overall weaker as a character. So I just want to put out a disclaimer for everyone looking to try and break the system. Do not upgrade to T2 unless you can fully trade that piece. I think this is why the devs have implemented blue T2 gear for new players that are lacking in their T1 gear. But don't ever trade a fully traded piece for a non-fully traded piece. If you can't trade that piece, do not put it on. That's just the biggest disclaimer I can make because I'm gonna see. I already know I'm gonna see so many people make that mistake, and it caused so many people to quit, and I don't want to see people quit.
Right.
So,
Right.
More players, the better.
I'll tell you, if y'all haven't already, we have 3 different point of views of the game. Ash has been playing the longest, but we all know exactly what to do for our builds and like what we're working towards. And like if we don't know something, we ask each other. There's been plenty of times that I've asked AK something or I've asked Ash something that I didn't know how to do it, and they sat down and explained it to me. If y'all have any questions, hit them up. Leave comments on their channels. I guarantee they reply to everything. Hop in their streams. Just show the support because I guarantee they'll answer it. If there's nothing else to add, guys, that's going to be the first episode of AFK at the Throne. Hope you enjoyed it. And let's give a big round of applause for AK and Ash for showing up as well. All right, guys.
I appreciate you for having us.
thanks for having me, bro.
All right, guys. Catch you later.
See ya.
Peace.